So, okay, the co-coordinator thing, are there arguments over this week on I need help up front and trying to stop Chuba Hubbard and Jamal saying no, I need Tylan Wallace doubled? Just seriously, what kind of problems does having weapons in both those areas present for a defense?
I mean, it just stresses you so much. Trying to figure out, where do you put your emphasis, because you can't focus on one spot with their skill players. Um, it's really, you just kind of, you got to try to kind of pick your spots is the best way to put it. And you're probably never going to be right 100% of the time. So I mean, with their talent level, their speed, athleticism, um, running back, quarterback, receiver, the whole thing makes it tough.
And now to John.
Curious to get your thoughts on this. I asked Neil how you come up with a plan for a couple of different quarterbacks that play different styles. You only got so much time to devote to that, but I would guess that dealing with the dynamic pass run guy is really is the nightmare for coaches when you have to get those guys prepared for guys like that, and to not know whether he's going to play or not. Just walk me through that a little bit. What your thought process is there?
You you just have to prepare for a little bit of everything, best you can. The athletic guys, the faster guys, the run pass option guys are obviously um, are harder because they put guys in so much conflict at your second level, sometimes your third level, just depending on what you're doing. Um, but so you just have to try to prepare for a little bit of everything when you don't know, and so that's exactly what we're going to do.
Next question from Greg Hunter.
So Neil had said a few minutes ago that he thought the defensive front, the older guys especially, were okay in the first game, but not great. What was your evaluation of them, and where do they need to be better this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on. We were just okay. Now, some of that was I take every first game with a grain of salt, whether it's our game or whether it's our opponent's game. So I think a little bit of that's just some jitters. I think a little bit of that is we got some guys that especially Darius and Dante that are going to get people's attention, and so the guys around them have to do more to take that, to kind of buffer that a little bit, and then those guys have to figure out how to deal with the attention that they're going to get, and that's part of being a good player.
We'll go now to Cody Nestor.
So, Jordan, in your opinion, I guess, when you're trying to stop a run game as successful as Oklahoma State's can be, is it more important for the defensive linemen to play well or for your linebackers to play well?
I mean, I really think it's a combination. I mean, your D line can only create so much to where the second level has to fit where they're supposed to. I don't think there's one more important than the next. I mean, you're going to have D linemen in some scenarios make some, and not necessarily us, just across college football, that are going to make some standout plays. A lot of times you watch the guys that can do that. For every 5 to 6 plays that they make, there's 4 to 5 that sometimes they run themselves right out of the play. So that's where your second level has to take over. So it's I don't think there's not one more important than the next.
Next question from Ryan Pritt.
Yeah, I was just wondering when you watch film this week. Obviously, that was an offensive line at Oklahoma State that struggled a little bit last week, allowed 6 sacks, and kind of struggled to open up running lanes for the majority of that game. But they had a lot of movement up front, a key injury there in the first half. When you watched that, how much did you think it was anything Tulsa did? How much did you think it was just all the movement that Oklahoma State was having to do up front, and what kind of adjustments are you anticipating them making up front this week?
I think that group that we're about to play is probably going to be much improved. Like I said earlier, I take every game one with a grain of salt. I think game one is pretty universal across college football, that you're going to have, whether it's jitters, whether it's the first full speed look at what you've been practicing. Game speed, you think you're in shape, but game speed is obviously different. We talk about that with kids all the time. And then I think, with COVID and everything, I think it's probably just getting back. You think about it. Normally we would be game 3 or 4 now, probably. As far as just the timing of what kids are used to, mid-September to late September. So, I think, and I thought Tulsa really, more than anything, played hard. They really did. But I expect that group to be night and day different than what we saw on Saturday.
Next up is Mike Kazaza. Go ahead.
Hey, Jordan, how are you?
Hey, Mike, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great, thank you. I was wondering about kind of what you were just mentioning there with timing and speed and all that stuff too. Oklahoma State plays fast. Scout team really got to help you there. And then, actually, that was my question. The other one got gobbled up before me.
Yeah, I mean, tempo is, something that you have to prepare for. Your scout teams have to help you, but Coach Brown does a good job of giving us quite a bit of that at practice throughout camp and throughout the week when we're able to go against each other. So, I think I counted maybe 3 times the other day where they snapped it almost within 6 seconds. That's flying. So I had to prepare for it.
Go ahead, John.
In light of that, I'm guessing communication is going to be paramount and getting lined up quickly to not get caught off guard, or I guess guys out of position with these guys. That's what they prey on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's what tempo does to you. It kind of, it makes you kind of hone in on what you're trying to do, and you got to get it in. You got to get communicated, and you can't have too much. And once they get going downhill, it's tough to stop.
Curious, real quick. A lot of it has been talked about Hubbard, but their backup played pretty well in that game against Tulsa. What's your thoughts on the running game overall? Not just Hubbard, right?
He's really good. He had a couple of runs the other day that were really impressive. Hits it downhill, has a combination of speed and power, a lot like Hubbard. Tough to tackle. If you give him a vertical seam, it's tough. So gotta try to, take, that's weapon after weapon after weapon. So.
Back to you, Greg.
So Jordan, in terms of the tempo thing, in the past you could sort of concentrate, exclusively on rotating your defensive line and hustle them in, hustle them off against tempo. Now that you're also calling plays or calling defenses, at least part of it, do you have to have help in somebody, substituting people in? How are you going to work that logistically? Because you got to obviously substitute those guys when they're going tempo.
Yeah, I mean, our guys that are on the sideline help with that. Jeff Kuntz helps me with that. Always, they always have an idea of what the substitution is going to be, who's going, when they're going, and then you got to pick your spots, whether it's dead ball or field position, whatever, hash. It doesn't matter. You have to be pretty on point with it. But that's something that we practice as the week goes, and we even back to camp. So.
Go ahead, Darren.
Coach, you mentioned the scout team and the importance of them this week. Will you have a guy like Garrett or Matt maybe mimic all 3 quarterbacks with Sanders and Bullock and Illingworth? Just sort of how do you prepare for those guys when you don't know who's going to play?
Going back to what I said earlier, you have to try to prepare for all 3. I think it's probably, you have to prepare for the run pass first, because that's the hardest, and that's probably where you got to spend the most energy. But yeah, we'll prepare for 2 or 3, all 3 guys that they have.
Back to you, John.
Last one for me, getting back to the tempo. I know it's important when you have eyes above to be able to see what's going on to help you out. Is it more comforting having a guy like Jeff Castile, who's had a lot of experience dealing with tempo and being a coordinator, up there to help you see what you need to see and help you get your guys lined up and ready to go?
Oh yeah, Yeah, he was just been great. It's great to have that experience. I mean, guys that look back to all their teams and even the leagues that he's coached in, he's got a ton of experience with it. It definitely helps. Definitely helps. He has a pretty good idea of when they've seen it enough to when they do that, where they're trying to hit you and attack you. And so, good information.
Curious, what are some of the things that you're interested in getting from him? What do you want to see? What are the things that are helping you make your calls?
I mean, I think his background and being a coordinator and calling it, and his position he coached is in that core of the defense. Being, when I say core, D line linebackers, first, second level. So just general information for the most part. Where are they hitting you? If you did get hit, where was it? What was the schemes? And then obviously you're going to have wrinkles that you have to adjust to every week. So you got to find out immediately what those are, where they're trying to get you, and he's done that for years. So that's something that helps a lot.
Back to you, Mike.
Jordan, you got them late last season, so there might be some stuff that you could find valuable as far as teaching guys quickly and what can they remember from last time. But is that advantage negated at all just because you have Wallace this time? You didn't have Sanders. You might have him this time. You might not. New guy triggering the plays on offense. Does it help? Does it hurt?
You're asking on last year's game?
Yeah, I mean, getting them in game 11 last year versus 2 this year, that's pretty close in the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously look at it, but if you go back to last year, you had, Sanders was out, Wallace was out, so to where, some of the stuff matches up and it's redundant. Was probably, I'm guessing that they're a lot of their base offense. You're probably going to see more of the guys that were not there, as far as plays or play sets or formation, whatever it may be, just general offense that's kind of built around those guys. So you go back and you look at it, does it match? Some of it, yeah. Some of it, no. So it's probably, flip a coin, 50-50.